the set, for the curb on both sides. So it is separated from the wetland by developed areas. So there's pavement, you can see in the photos that were included in the notes of intent. The driveway that exists between these two areas. So that's how the site would be accessed. There's no vegetation removal with the exception of 5 landscape plantings right in the vicinity of the pad itself. Those are arborvitae that need to be removed. They're just planted in mulch right there. We have a file number. They have no comments. I think at this point, we'd just like to open it up to questions in the commission.
Isabel?
You've been on site for different reasons over the years, and more recently, Mike was there to inspect the delineation. Everything was okay. Mike, why don't you go over those? If you haven't.
Yeah, so obviously there was some wind blown trash in the intermittent stream. And then there was 2 wooden pallets that were observed by wetland flag 7A. Which,
Up here.
yeah.
Yeah, so the plan that the commission has, they updated their plan. It did show the limit of wetland, but not the flagging. So Mary did submit a revised plan with the flagging and the delineation of inner buffer zone and the 100-foot buffer zone. That may not be on your plans.
Well,
It's part of our review.
yeah, we submitted 2 plans and it's since that most of it is finally consolidated with those things in the plan. So the blow up plan that was prepared by the Jane Company, and that data has been added to this this civil plan here, so that you just have to reference one of them.
Okay, so I guess I looked at the original plan. I did not see the newer plan, so all my notes are based on.
That's the only
original.
change, is just
Okay.
add the wetland line on there, and it was, it's obvious what it is, right?
Yeah, so, couple of comments that we had were, add the dimensions of the concrete pad.
Okay.
I usually, like, typically a site like this does require an O&M plan. That would be kind of up to the commission. And is there a visual barrier that's being added on that plan? It says a post and rail fence, correct?
That's existing. You're not adding any fencing?
Existing out there?
Where are you seeing the post and rail?
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and then existing post and rail fence extending to approximately the area of A7.
Okay, so yeah, guardrail.
Yes.
Guardrail, yeah.
Yeah, so typically the commission does require a visual barrier kind of protecting that whole intermittent stream. That's up to discussion with the commission. Add a construction sequence to the plan. And who and when delineated. Yeah, we'd like to see just like a basic construction sequence.
And then, sort of the vegetative barrier, it is existing, so there is all along this edge between the curbing and the flagging.
Yeah, they typically usually like to see a hard barrier to protect that area. Just kind of like that guardrail that you were talking about up in that area. And yeah, that is it for staff notes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I had a lot of the same things on my list that Mike talked about. Visual barrier, we also like signage for a visual barrier, since the driveway is right up against it, guardrail maybe the most appropriate visual barrier. You know, the residents of the commission want to say, but you have signs that it's a protected area. as far as the intermittent stream goes, do we have stream stats on that, that it's definitely intermittent? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a premier package. It's not even digitized by this, yes. So it's not.
I must have missed it, I
Yeah.
apologize, thank you. An O and M plan, because I know this is an older development, but this is an opportunity for us to go back and, see what's going on there and making sure that things are working the same way, if they're, the way they're supposed to, that things are being, maintained and serviced. And just as a heads up, we like timing in O and M plans so that if if it says 4 times per year, be more specific than just 4 times a year. Is it, spring, summer, fall, or whatever. So we know what's going on, and sometimes you can do it as a table, but also the department likes to be notified that things are happening out there. We generally like a locus on the plan so that, where we're looking at, I mean, we obviously do, but, later on, if somebody goes back to pull this up. Mike mentioned dimensions on the care. Do we have a wetlands report in here? I don't remember this. So I missed that too. Okay, again, my apologies.
It's in the narrative.
It's a narrative, okay, good. The impervious area, the increase in the impervious area, you mentioned you're taking out some more of the varieties. Are you planning on putting anything else in there to enhance the buffer zone or?
There wasn't any plan to do any other plantings, but there's room. I mean, well, the rest of it is already planted, so I guess I should say, I would be room because it's a pretty small area and there's, the pad will require removing these windows.
Since this is within, the buffer zone, sometimes it's nice to get some stuff in there that has a little more value in terms of wildlife, and habitat and stuff, so if you might want to give that some thought.
There's some room for that.
Yeah, and perhaps, in that, although you're not disturbing that area, but, the area that's, between where the visual barrier is, and I don't know if there's enough room out there to really do anything.
So the wetland is to the red, there might be other opportunities on site there. We could enhance, replace some of the plantings in areas closest to wetlands as well in the back.
Thank you. I couldn't see it on here, but usually like on the plans, who did the delineation and when. And I know it was done in February of this year, or not with the snow cover then. Yeah. Okay, good. And do you have a variance request on this for work? It's outside of 25, so it's and then, for the visual barrier, the guy agrees. Yeah.
The way the staging stuff.
Is that on here for the top column areas?
I don't think you need any staging stockpile.
No. Okay, and I think Michael mentioned the construction. That's a lot happening from your study, Mr. Chairman.
Well, they kind of covered. I was wondering when if you're going to replace the arborvitae someplace. I understand you can't put them there. How about up towards the other building? In the pond there.
We could find a location on the site.
So you go more or less going to replace 6 for 6.
We don't represent the owner of the properties, so that's a confirm the general contractor, your facility. But I don't think that would be a problem. We could make that work out.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm pretty much all set, but I just want to read. Establish what Diana spoke about the O&M plan, not only to see pallets left outside, but work is done, have, maintenance people clean up the area, keep the area neat.
I'll pass that on.
Trying to start looking at those O&M plans as we get down the road. Some people are just neglecting it altogether. They promise you the road is just not following through. So I want to see that done. Other than that, all set.
Jeff, I'm good, thank you. Christine?
Good, I can't see.
But
Where is the truck entrance for materials?
the existing driveway, which is there's a big parking area here, the driveway comes up around here, and there's more parking back here, so this is all things already paid, yes.
Are you going to pay bill or sweeping?
No, there, I
They
don't
just
think.
take it right into the truck.
Yeah,
And is there any existing bollards there?
No, they don't have, there's no.
there are bollards.
From the
in front of
generator.
the generator.
Yeah,
Take it off and put the new one?
so there's a generator right
That's
here,
it.
that's existing, and it has a couple of bollards right there.
Okay.
So we'll add 3 more in front of the new pad.
So they'll be pouring concrete and such, right?
Well,
Yes.
or this, yeah,
Since you're adding more information for the plan, I would recommend designating in case they do need, where they're going to be staging an area on the plan. It looks like, in front of the building, or it's just designated, because that's when issues. You're the contractor, so it's great you're here.
Yes.
But it's not clear where they can and cannot wash equipment. Seen that happen in some non-authorized areas.
Also, pushing already in front there, everything, far away.
I only had one question. You said it was a pad for a cooling tower, just conventional water. Yeah, there's not a cooling system.
Yeah.
So no containment we need around that. Okay. That's all the questions I had.
I had one clarification if I could, so the O and M plan you're looking for, that's for the whole 7 acre property, or the O and M
Yes.
plan for just this pad?
Probably.
So just to cover a few, basically whatever you have, I think they have catch basins on site
Yes.
and stormwater basins on site. Snow management, where they can designate a few areas where snow stock handling is permissible. The entire wetland system to the back and that stream, so, just direction on where that should be done or can't be done.
If there is not one, I don't know when this, what this is constructed, this.
They set an order of conditions.
They should have one.
Files, if it's an older one, then they would come and ask that it be updated. If it didn't address snow management, parking, sweeping, frequency of catch basin inspection, cleaning. The name of the company that owns the site management contact, owner responsibility contact. And we can give you a sample of that. A lot of it's kind of cookie cutter, but obviously for snow management, it's a little different, site specific. And it looks like you have a degree of existing conditions plan, the original one that you sent that covered a larger area. Where you could even attach an aerial to your O and M plan. And that's, where they have existing touch basins, use a red marker to highlight, where areas are. Challenges sometimes on what the commission would look for, and understand the first agenda.
And then are you looking for, as our visual area, are you looking for extension of the guardrail across this area? Is that what you're? I don't want to propose something that is just not. What you're looking for. So there's curb on either side. It's not an issue of vehicles or anything like that. And it's not an area that's frequented by pedestrians, but,
Usually we want something that's gonna prevent people from vehicles from going out. A lot of parking lots, we can get people talking that their heads over, farther than they should. I'm not sure if that's the case here, for a while, residences, we just put the fences back there. I guess I would defer to the staff on this one, which would be more appropriate, because I apologize, I did not get out to, I've been on the site before, but I wasn't out right before this hearing. So,
I think there's a guardrail.
there's a guardrail further down. It's not a guardrail right at this location. But there, like I said, there is curbing on both sides and it's not, there's no parking spaces in this area or anything, so it's just people coming by.
Yeah,
There's
this
parking
is
there.
just a drive around.
It's a drive around, so there's parking on both sides. There's
Back.
parking in the front and parking in the back, but no one's parking there, so there isn't any. You know, it's a low potential for encroachment in that particular area. So just want to, I don't want to go to the effort of putting in more structure there or hard structure if it's not really needed.
Usually it's a requirement for projects because it protects the rural operation zone.
Yep.
So I, for one, would like to see a hard visual there. Yeah, I think
Want to grow like a post with sign instead of the whole rail, because there's no turnaround area or backup area that would go over the curb.
But it is
If there
a
were
high,
posts.
I think it's a high traffic area though. If people are driving around the parking lot, I would think that there's a lot of vehicles that go by there, so I think it's probably want something that would just, put the sign on it. An actual, continuous barrier. I mean, I would be okay with a guardrail along there, so that it's already out there. And, that would allow wildlife passage and stuff.
But go with the guy, really welcome.
Just to clarify. Extend. The guardrail. Along the intermittent stream section.
If there's anybody see it around, I would also keep them on the road.
The plow is not plowing, snow.
You can do them loud,
I'm sorry?
I'm having.
Oh, I'm sorry. It would keep, if somebody skids around the back and, it would keep them on the road and as Jack pointed out. Wow.
They plow through, they wouldn't be able to snow,
Okay.
push the snow over it.
Thing. Any comments, questions from anyone in the audience to this? No?
I will make a motion that we continue the hearing, and our next hearing is 2 weeks from tonight, which means you have to have anything rolling a week from today. Is that doable, or would you prefer to go on to the first meeting in April?
What's the date of the April meeting?
I'll defer to staff on that.
April 10th.
Yeah,
April 10th.
April 10th.
March 9th, go for the next meeting.
Yeah, April 10th. Next meeting is March 27th. And, the meeting after that is April 10th.
Let's continue to March 27th, and if we're having trouble meeting that deadline, then
In that case, I will make a motion that we continue with the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Local Wetland Protection Bylaw on the hearing notice of intent for 70 and 76 Trouble Cove Road, Molly Pigeon and Company, DEP file number 109-1559, BBL 1559, to the meeting of March 27th, 2024.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Jack. Jack, second. Next item, the Mass Wetlands Protection Act and Bill Record Wetlands Protection Bylaw Wetlands hearing notice is and public hearing. Well, 129 Concord Road. If your fuel cells, DEP file. They don't have
When we check really, that wasn't.
Okay, and that's 623.
There was a chat. Yes. That is trying to have, okay, like, I've got, the time is- I'll go get It's always good to keep on, especially.
This one's we have. Actually, most. It's like, I've been 40 years, I can't do it. I do. Yes, sir. It's all good. It's all good. Down. 1 second.
Are you able to see my folder?
Yes, it's trying to upgrade on us right now. Sorry, usually we brought boards and then the one time we did bring boards. So, or just be that. Video speed first.
The next one.
This one gets full.
There, well, we've got the PDF right there, we'll open it. Trying to upgrade it, so Adobe. With the sheets to be updated.
Right, I'm trying. So will it work on that even if it's trying to upgrade the LED?
Yeah, we're gonna go to a whole different. So I will watch again.
Yeah, you might have to search for your signal. I'm gonna do that.
Come on, people would. Yeah, it's that.
Yeah. Technically serious right now. If there's an issue, we could always use our sub there.
Okay, I can do like on my computer, got some color on there.
Yeah, I know that, that would be great, but we can also, refer to these plans too. We have posted boards. We go around to it, we wanna walk the commission through it.
Okay. We can do that. You want me to hold it up on my computer, just?
Start your way through.
All right. Thought I was getting the easy way, but not as very important, so, oh, yes, that's.
Sorry, we don't have a problem.
That's the. All right, I will.
Okay, you can just make your presentation, I have plans.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Alex Horgan, Fuller Engineering, representing the applicant, the Vera Fuel Cells, the project, Stafford as well, Fuller here. Wanted to start off, if we can start with the demo plan, first sheet in our package. We've identified on there the demo and the erosion sediment control plan. What I was hoping to show you in color, but unfortunately not, is we have for research areas on the site, 200-foot riverfront area, 100-foot wetland buffer, as well as 25-foot no disturb. All the work we are proposing, almost all the work we are proposing is within the 100-foot wetland buffer, so fire in front of you this evening. The project is a concrete pad that is eventually going to house a hydrogen tank. For clarification on the plan itself, we show those hydrogen tank components for reference, not part of what we're proposing here in front of you today, just the concrete pad itself, along with the electrical from the building to the new tank. Looking at that existing conditions plan, we proposed some compost stock around the project. We anticipate that a lot of this excavation is just gonna be straight down. So pretty self-contained, we're gonna have those erosion control measures in place, along with setting that stockpile location outside of our buffer zone. I did also want to note on this plan that the wetlands delineation from 2018. So per request of the Conservation Commission, we had someone go out last week and verify the delineation. It was all consistent with previous delineation, with the exception of one area that's actually pulled back away from the parking lot, so away from our project in one location. And I do have hard copies of that if people would like to see that as well.
Can you hand that out to the record?
Thank you. So you'll see in that northernmost corner. That updated delineation.
Nothing's working for us.
Also wanted to point out on this plan here, all this work is within existing pavement and that existing parking lot area. We are gonna be demoing portions of the existing parking islands there. We tried to keep as much of those as we could, but due to where the location of that tank is gonna be, that pad, we're going to be moving parts of those islands. We want to move, I was gonna do Brady plan next, C401. We're gonna move on to that one. You can kind of see where that proposed pad is going to land within that 100-foot wetland buffer. And along with that, I wanted to point out, we are proposing a 2-foot crushed stone perimeter around 3 sides of that concrete pad. The purpose of that is we're getting rid of some impervious area with our demolition, kind of get back a pervious area there, We're actually increasing pervious there by adding that crushed stone perimeter around the building. And then along with that, the site plan, it looks like with our limit of work, if you're looking at it, that we might be within that 25-foot buffer zone. That is just some restriping that we're gonna be doing, so no one's parking right next to that pad. So more of a maintenance there. And then also on site plan, we've picked a couple locations to propose some signage about the wetlands, kind of that visual barrier there in 3 locations, 2 to 4 locations around the perimeter of our project as well. In terms of our drainage infrastructure, the drainage patterns are going to be, we are decreasing impervious actually within that 100-foot wetland buffer. We're going to keep all the existing storm drainage as it stands today, as well. And I think with that, we'll go ahead and open up questions again. It's just now 100-foot wetland buffer, fairly small too. So, thank you.
Yeah, Alex mentioned the notice of intent reference to 2018 delineation. Flags were not present in the field, so they were required to back survey the flags and have them field verified, which they completed for the record. There is a change from what's shown on the plan. We have not inspected these new flags, so we'll just look those over. Is it your intent to add them to the plan or leave it as?
We're comfortable with leaving it as is, as that is more conservative what we have now.
Yeah, it's a relatively minor area and it's at the corner. This area, I've been out here a number of times because there's a proposed Yankee Doodle bike path that's coming just to the right of the site. I think this, yeah. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. So just a couple of items. Commissioner did ask me if there was an O&M plan attached. You guys addressed that, or commission is going to require one. The plan should address who and when the delineation was completed. You can reference to 2018, who and when that was completed by, and that it was back surveyed and field verified by who, as you know, whatever that date is. A note on the plan. Erosion controls in a staging stockpiling area. You guys can designate that.
Yeah, it should be shown on the demo plan.
Oh,
That on the stock around, and then stockpile and food supply.
okay, great. Um, Commission typically asks for a construction sequence plan, so would address demolition, setting up the staging stockpile, if there's any dewatering that may be necessary. That it should be, built into an upland area. Review, so it looks like we would probably need a variance, because there is going to be some work. I don't know if it's just limited to the striping. You can discuss that with the commission. If they're gonna require anything else, any environmental signage, on the inner repairing, corridor or along the buffer zone area. The other thing is, so with regards to stormwater management, you guys checked off that it does trigger stormwater management review. It would be subject to redevelopment. We agree with that, but you didn't submit a redevelopment checklist.
Okay,
So that should be submitted as part of the NOI.
okay.
Inlet protection, I know they have catch basins in this area, and your demolition plan shows the inlet protection. And that's it. Oh, just for the record, DEP does not have the NOI listed on the site at all.
But I would submit it.
I would just double check. Because it's all of the projects that were planned are listed, and it's not a matter of, they're still reviewing it, so they can be on numbers, so I would follow up just to make sure that they get it, because the commission can't close a hearing, or won't close a hearing without a DEP number. And that's it for staff reviewing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm having plan envy with the chill, because this is the size that I got, and I, almost need a magnifying glass to read these, so, no, I'm good now, I'm not marked it out, so I kind of figured it out, but,
The big ones were there for you to take.
they were, yeah, but I missed.
They
Oh,
Oh, they one man.
yeah. I couldn't carry those big plans, my mistake then, apologies. Isabel mentioned a lot of the stuff on my list, things that, when the wetlands were flagged, the O&M manual, we need an updated O&M manual for the site, this is a good opportunity to brought up to speed on it, I know there was another project on the site several years ago with the photovoltaic, umbrellas over the parking lot and stuff, kind of unfortunate they didn't do it, but she mentioned the need for a variance request, visual barrier, you mentioned signage, and I do see where you have some signs, on posts, and I guess given the location of the project, and I'm concerned about that back area where it's the 25-foot is, almost into the building, and then that part of the parking lot where I think it's wetland flags 29 and 30. That area, I would like to see something a little bit more permanent to protect some of those areas. And, the signage, in other areas is good, but probably more than, one along every 200 feet or something. Usually we like them closer together than that.
Is there a standard for?
It depends if it's like at the edge, like on some of them, it's the edge of the woods, and we wouldn't want you to, to do anything to destroy the woods or anything. But probably, in those areas, I don't know, every 25 to 50 feet, depending on,
Where it's straight shot parking lot,
yeah.
50 feet, and it's something, we can review with them in the field.
There is,
During construction, yeah, minimum of, 50 feet to be discussed with conservation staff. We also don't want the site to be inundated with signs. I think that's a straight shot like that they can have. A few left.
yeah, but that one little area, would probably be good to have something, more permanent in there. I assume that's a head wall or something coming out of there, or is that just a figure of the wetlands,
Are you talking about where?
29 and 30?
Plan in the work.
it's, you know, straight, almost straight up from where the site is.
Yeah, that's down the bank some there,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, that's.
you can't see it.
That is a good one. So that might be a spot, you know, maybe something in that piece.
Are you clarifying if you want it all the way down?
No, I don't think it needs to go, I think signage is fine, it's just where it comes really close to the park, I mean, that's what, like 10 feet, 12 feet from the edge of the parking lot.
Right, how far down on the site?
We're just on that one.
You just want it along the parking lot?
Yeah, I don't want it doesn't have to go back into the woods, you know, much, but just, you know, along the edge of that parking lot and then. Sort of
It's
around it.
consistent with what you guys required for the last project on the site.
Okay, good. That's encouraging. I think that's all, construction sequence, did you mention the sequence on here? I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
All between Diane and this fellow, almost said.
Yeah, all set. Yeah,
I'm good, thank you.
Christine.
I guess, magnifier was wow. I know her.
Oh, may I ask one other question? Snow storage. Are there designated areas on this for snow storage?
We show on the site plan, C301.
Okay, I'll look on one of those, I took the picture and I don't even know.
Yeah, I think that one plan was probably closest to keep out of the 100 foot buffer on our sheet.
So there's one company that manages the whole site, right? Within that O and M plan. With regards to snow stockpiling, just, you know, general upkeep of existing stormwater, PMPs, things like that. In fact, I think there's like existing conditions of the whole site that can be used to show where existing stormwater features are. You can attach that plan to the O and M.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. Okay, I think that was it. The variance that we talked about was just in this area of the parking lot where striping was going to be done and such. There was nothing else that I saw. Okay.
Yes, so just to clarify, we do need a variance, if just, even if we're not disturbing anything, then it's pretty sure like a variance.
Right, to do the painting and the limit, what's the limit of the rooms that they were seeing. Okay. I didn't have anything else. Any questions from anybody? Okay.
And, so as you probably heard from the last, actually the next meeting, is in 2 weeks, so we move everything in a week. Yeah?
Yeah.
March 27th. Okay. I will make a motion to continue to what we texted, I can go with it, texting the dialogue on this hearing, there was intent for 129 Concord Road, Neil, Dylan, Navarre, Phillips, DEP, no file number yet. To the meeting of March 27th, 2024.
Second,
All in favor?
let's see. 2 weeks.
Oh,
That's you.
We got. After 10 minutes of trouble.
okay, next item, Mass Wetlands Protection Act, New York Wetlands Protection Bylaw Wetlands Hearing. Notice of intent public hearing for 296 Concord Road, applicant K as partners, DEP file number 109. Yeah, and UPL. And then that was at 6:49.
Great, thank you, members of the commission, thank you for the patience with the, technical difficulties here, but we're up and running for our second, presentation here. My name is Zach Richards, with Bowler Engineering as well, Senior Project Manager, and Engineer of Record for this project. The owner applicant's KS Partners. This project site probably rings a bell. We've been back, we were in front of the commission back in 2021, 2022. For one building on the portion of the site, which I'll get into. We were back in front of you last year for the second building. And now we're here for the last leg, I guess, last building of the site, based on market conditions and tenants, loss of tenants, over the last year. Let's see, click. There we go. So this is the site here. And large parking lot here. We've got, Route 3 is, located to the east, which is page up. You can see the north arrow here. And then we've got Concord Roads just off the screen, to the west of the site. This is, most of the site shown here. We've got a large, as you can see, largely unused parking lot existing there today. Some, in commercial, industrial abutters to both the north and south of the property. It's really an existing office park today. As I mentioned, back in 2022, the owner applicant received an order of conditions for an approved project for 300 Concord Road, which was located within this existing parking lot. Last year, in July of 2023, we received a order of conditions site plan approval for a second building, which was 298 Concord Road, in this area of the site. And then we're here in front of you tonight for a project in this portion of the existing site, which we're calling 296 Concord Road. For clarity, this existing building is numbered 296. This middle building is 298, and this is 300 on the right today. So those are the three addresses that we've essentially reused as our three projects as they've come about over time here. And as part of this project, we are proposing it as a standalone project, similar to how 298 was done. But we have contemplated the full build condition, and we've looked at and evaluated that and submitted some exhibits, plans in support of that full build condition, which we'll get into towards the end of the presentation here. So this is a zoom in of again, the site of the 296 Concord Road that we're in front of you for tonight. We've outlined the limit of work roughly in orange there. And then the resource areas, which were delineated by Lucas Environmentals in 2021, and then again in 2022, are shown in the greenish like aqua color there, on the bottom and bottom right of the screen. The 50-foot and 200 and 100-foot buffer zones from those wetlands are shown in blue there. And we've kind of outlined the existing extents of pavement and the existing extents there for clarity. The way the existing drainage functions, it's really a series of curb breaks around the parking lot that you can see in green there. There's a couple catch basins on the bottom portion of the existing parking lot that discharge and right into a drainage swale that runs the perimeter of the parking lot and ultimately outlets into the wetlands to the southwest. So I did want to point out that, and then as far as you can tell, the existing roof drainage discharges directly into the wetland area. So jumping ahead to the proposed conditions, what we're proposing here, similar to the other projects I mentioned, we're looking at a proposed high bay GMP lab building, which essentially goes with the life science campus that the owner applicant's looking to get traction to revitalize this, unfortunately dying office park, that's mostly vacant at this point. We're proposing a 77,700 square foot footprint building. The total gross square footage is just about 146,000 square feet, so a lot of that's on a mezzanine second story, over the high bay. You can see we've largely shrunk the existing parking area in this proposed condition. We have, the loading docks. Loading dock here operating on the, the northern central corridor of that building. And then we've got parking around the perimeter. Most of the utility infrastructure, transformer electrical equipment up here on the northeast portion of the building. And really what we've done, we've pulled some of the impervious and the building footprint back from this wetland area to the southwest of this condition. We pulled it back about 18 feet. We proposed some stormwater improvements, really consisting of underground infiltration systems. Those are shown in green here. We've got 3 different systems. Similar to the other projects, we weren't really surprised doing test pits to find that high groundwater was a big constraint out here. It's very wet, and that's been a predominant constraint across the other approved projects. So we've been thoughtful, a little creative in our grading approach to get proper separation of the groundwater, and be able to fit these systems in the right locations where we had a little more room to work with from groundwater. That said, we will be seeking relief from separation of groundwater, similar to the other projects, which we believe is through the Board of Health, and that will be via stormwater permit submission to Board of Health that will follow the Conservation Commission process, similar to how we've done that in the past. I mentioned the pulling the building back. One of the other things that we know was a very important point of discussion for the planning board was pedestrian connectivity throughout the site. So we've been thoughtful about pedestrian connections to the north, to those abutters. There's a connection over here where there's an existing bridge to the abutting property here with a crosswalk that we've tied into. We've got a sidewalk here connected to the other main entrance to the existing buildings here. And then we've got a walkway around the southwest side of this building too, as well, to kind of provide the full connectivity around the building and to the adjacent buildings and sites. I think in general, the stormwater provides a lot of improvements. As I mentioned, there's just curb breaks today and some riprap that goes into that drainage swale. We've got a series of deep sump hooded catch basins, some water quality units, and infiltration systems. So that's going to achieve infiltration that isn't achieved today. The pre-treatment and treatment achieved during infiltration. Going to provide, meet all the requirements for total suspended solids removal, as well as phosphorus and nitrogen removal. So it's meeting all of those, even though a portion of it constitutes a redevelopment, or it's a mix of redevelopment. We've fully complied with all the Mass DEP stormwater standards as a new development. So we're really checking all the boxes, as well as decreasing peak rates of runoff and volumes to the wetland areas. As I mentioned, I'll jump to the full build rendering that we've prepared here, and this again shows the other projects. This is 300 Concord Road, previously approved for reference. This is 298, which received approvals last summer, and then this is how our new proposed building that we've submitted and under review tonight kind of fits in. We've provided some green space that we've highlighted and worked for landscaping, trying to maximize that green strip around the building wherever feasible, and maintain a lot of those pedestrian connectivity points that I mentioned before throughout, the new campus and the full build condition. That's really been our focus in kind of reviewing that, and we think the stormwater systems work very well, as we proved, through peer reviews in the past, as individual projects, but there's pretty clear breaking points between the limits of work and the different projects that allow it to function well independently, but also, as a collective full build. Touching on operation and maintenance and kind of getting ahead of that, as requested at the last, as part of the last project on approval, we did prepare and submit a full O and M for the full site. So as part of this additional project, we've essentially revised that to incorporate this project and submitted an updated full O and M for the entire property. We know as part of previous projects, a large point of contention, I guess, was a lot of some of the ongoing maintenance needs across the site and the commission wanted to see a lot of work done. This is actually an older plan that was submitted as, I think, prior approvals. We've reviewed that as we kind of discussed at prior hearings last summer. The owner applicant did engage a landscape contractor to complete all of this work, so that's since been completed. And what we provided that we thought would be helpful is an updated version of that plan showing a couple items that I guess we've identified since or that we feel need to be completed as part of this project. So this updated stormwater management restoration plan, if you will, identifies a couple things. One of those is this existing basin and some maintenance, additional maintenance needed there. At some of the outfalls, removal of accumulated sediment, some maintenance of vegetation, et cetera. There was a failure of a existing culvert down west of this wetland, which is, kind of southwest of the subject site and property that connects to the satellite parking area. I understand the owner applicant's been working with the commission and the ConCom agent to do a repair of that culvert as a standalone project that's kind of going through the process right now, as I understand it. But there's some work that I just wanted to point out that's kind of underway, fixing that culvert failure. And then there was another riprap area that we identified in need of some rejuvenation. And then some signage along that access drive that's yet to be installed to delineate the wetland along there. But otherwise, we think that the owner's done a great job taking care of a lot of that. I guess to summarize, we will be requesting a variance for work within, I guess, the 25 and 50 foot zone, and that's for removal of the building. The buildings within the existing limits are within that no disturb buffer. But as I said, we're pulling things back from the wetland area. Technically, we do need a variance, so we're seeking that as part of the project. And with that, I know you guys have a long agenda, so I'll turn it over for questions. Happy to dive into any more details in any of those areas. And thank you for the time.
Let's start with the culvert collapse, that's one of the last items that Zach had mentioned. You did approve at your last hearing an emergency certificate. The contractor that was handling that noted that he's no longer on this. I don't know what happened or why the applicant is choosing to hold on it, but it's actually a collapsed culvert and it conveys flow, both stormwater flow and then stream flow through the area, and that needs to be clear ASAP. So I don't know who the point of contact is right now, and he mentioned, I asked him and he sent me a follow-up email. But just haven't had
Okay.
a chance to connect with the prepping for the meeting.
Yeah, I'll tie you in with our contact, so to make sure you can get a hold of them.
Yeah, he had submitted a whole package that we reviewed with the commission. The commission added a few notes. Maybe I can forward you that email where I reviewed
Sure.
everything. But it's not a matter of holding off on it. It's something that needs to be repaired ASAP.
Understood, yeah.
Water quality, site stabilization, bank stabilization in that area. And it connects to an existing stormwater BMP, so that should be addressed as much as possible.
Understood, yeah, I'm happy to help connect, we've been separate from that and not engaged in any part of
The
that. but
commission
we're-
is happy to review it as an emergency start. They've observed the conditions.
Understood.
And it's a safety issue. that they
Yeah, no,
presented to
agreed.
us. With regards to the wetland delineation, they did a great job. They referenced the previous delineation. The flags are all in the field, Mike inspected that. With regards to a variance request, that pointed out when it's required, that's coming back for. I think the commission should just clarify, the extent of the visual barrier on this site. There's 3 projects that have been approved on this particular property. There were site maintenance issues, leading to, adverse conditions to wetlands, especially the stream along the access road. It's great to see that they, the new, has continued to address, some of those problems, but the commission should clarify at this first hearing, the extent of any, protection of MEZ for the site, visual barriers, environmental signage. And as I pointed out, the O and M plan was revised to address this new project. And so then that's a site-wide O and M plan. The project does trigger stormwater peer review. We would streamline that with the planning board and the Board of Health. Hopefully, we've been in contact with Beta and they've, might be able to do it, so we're coordinating that effort right now, and we'll coordinate with that review as well. We've already submitted to the planning board.
Correct.
Okay. That's it for staff review comments, I was saying, just wait a second. That's it for staff review comments, thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the culvert too. I have seen it and it's in pretty much shape. And just as a reminder that area, that ponding area, and I did detention basin, that serves as a vernal pool. I have seen amphibian eggs there even years, not just once. So,
This one here,
and across the road, if you cross where the culvert is collapsed next to that parking lot,
Across the way.
if you keep going.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
stormwater basin.
It probably started out as a detention basin, but it serves as a vernal pool. Just as a heads up, so when they do the work out there, I have major concern about that it's protected. Because
Okay.
we're getting into, like, if any night, the amphibians are gonna start going in there. So this is the sort of whole year for that. And I'd hate to walk out there and see lots of squished frogs and salamanders and stuff. Okay, moving on to the 296, and I guess in terms of the overall, 296, 298, 300, I'd like to see some sort of universal approach to, protection of no alteration, don't wrap it, in terms of enhancements to it, carrying over some of the other things that he's done, to other parts of this overall project, whenever he gave us the piece with the whole thing, because I don't like seeing piecemeal buildings in terms of, just adding on and adding on and adding on. This is really one big project. In terms of the size of the building, is there a particular reason you picked this size? Because I personally would like to see it pulled out of that and put some alterations on it possible. I know you have the water pass through there. And that's something, I'll put that out there, something to think about if we can move it farther away from that ponding area. It's a pretty, you've been out there, Zach, so it's a pretty extensive system that goes through there. There's a lot of water that goes through that whole area.
Sure. Yeah, I think just to answer that really quick, 80,000 square feet is what we hear is kind of like the sweet spot, for a lot of tenants to hit that mark, so we're at 77. We're trying to respect the green strip requirements around the remainder of the building, which kind of pigeonhole us, and then trying to add, like I said, pulling back from the existing building. About 20 feet and trying to really improve, enhance landscaping along there. We thought was a logical approach there, but
Well,
understand your concern.
yeah,
Well,
if you give that some thought and see, the parking area on, I don't know, well, the building is wider as it is than what's already out there. But, you know, maybe if you just shifted the building a little bit or went a little wider instead of longer or something to try to protect more of that, you know, alterations on over there. Isabel mentioned a peer review, which is good. The O&M plan, I know I went through some of it. In a lot of places, talked about, you know, doing things 2 times a year. We like specific, you know, wall spray or, you know, whatever is appropriate, but, you know, make it more definitive. We usually have a condition in there that no fertilizers and no alteration zone, and I know that that's probably the current owners, but through, you know, umpteen years, there's been an issue on that site in general, that putting chemicals along where the wetlands are, where the pond is, so that's something that whoever's using the O&M plan really needs to be alerted to. Yeah, the visual barrier, if you could show me on there where you're proposing the visual barrier.
I think it's a series of signs. They're not showing up here, but I think as Isabel alluded to, we have signage along the access drive here that was part of the 298 project. And so we were looking to take a similar approach around this wetland, just you know, spacing signage around it at a similar frequency.
I, for one, might want to see something more permanent if you're thinking of leaving that walking out there, or at least not getting it farther from the wetlands, because you know, the inclination is that people will go off the walking path. Going to a protected area. You know, I'm open to, you know, suggestions from staff and, you know, comments from other members of the commission, but I would like to see it more protected. Particularly, you know, along that parking area that is really, really close to that ponding area. I would like to see that pulled out of that no alteration zone. That's really, really close to that. And I don't, what is that, about 20 feet off of there? 15 feet off of there?
In this
Yeah.
vicinity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and again, that's kind of, it's a little deceptive, but it's kind of replacing, it's where existing parking is generally today.
Right, but which, this is, you know, even though it's a tear down, it's a new development building, so it's 50-foot no alteration zone applies, and what you have out there isn't even outside of the 25-foot. So that, you know, would be one of my comments on that. You know, this is an opportunity to get some of the issues with what's back there now, improved. And I think I'll leave it at that for now. Thanks,
Thank you.
I probably won't phrase this the right way, but as you're coming to us to add new buildings and you haven't completed the work, you said when you were here last time, the culvert and a few other things.
The culvert thing, that's a new item. As I said, we've addressed the other things. We didn't install the signage yet to be up front. That was something we hope to do. Less of a maintenance thing, more of a, hey, you know, when they're out installing and doing the work as part of a project. That's kind of how we had interpreted that. Apologies, that was not the.
Is that you with the
We can work.
contractor lined up to do this culvert work, or is?
That's my understanding, is that they're in progress, but I know the owner contact I'm working with is more on the development side, so I know he's working with a separate group. That Isabel may have alluded to, maybe she's had trouble getting in contact with, that I understand that they've been in touch and. As far as I understood, you know, moving forward, trying to move forward with that work. But again, I'll, you know, make sure that we connect and circle the wagons together this week to make sure that's moving forward as it should.
Okay. That's, Jack.
Yeah, I think, you know, past practices, you are getting better on your own plan. And I want to make sure you get sweeping down and giving a time frame when it will be done, both fall, winter, spring, whatever it needs to be done. and, fertilizing your green areas. Because they're all connected to the waterways, as we take care of it. Other than that, I'm all set for right now.
Jeff,
I think they covered everything, I'm good for now.
Christine?
Yes, what kind of color collapse? What's the existing color type? Can you
I believe it was a corrugated metal pipe, so we suggest replacing with reinforced concrete pipe as part of that.
maybe box colored or something else?
No, I think I think they were looking to match the existing pipe size as to not change in flow patterns.
You think-
I don't believe so. Again, we haven't really been engaged. They're separating that as a separate project.
We need a truck turning, fire truck turning.
That was provided as part of the planning board package. I could provide that to the commission as well, or Isabel, so she could pass that along if you want to review that.
How do you, you said they're, already joining that we use the word, did that. I don't, everything back or.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how we normally do it. I mean, if. And let me look at what we called out here. Existing flared end pipe section with riprap observed to have lost stone located below invert of
That last is if you need
the
that,
riprap.
that last if you need it.
That's great.
You just have to touch it with your fingers. and-
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
There we go. Thank you. Existing flared end pipe section with riprap observed at lost stone located below invert of the FPS. The riprap stone 4 to 6 inch in diameter to be replaced as necessary to produce proper stone cover below. The pipe, invert structure and reduce vaporization in this area. So it's really adding stone, that's just clarifying. Supplementing with what's out there today, to make sure it's functioning properly.
That's how you steps. Thank you.
There you go. There we go.
Say, Christine?
Well, thank you.
And that's my concern, as Diane had mentioned, is along the walkway and parking lot driveway area around the water. Is a barricade of some kind. People have any more, people out.
Understood.
Okay. As well as, anywhere around, I know there's signs along on there, but if there's anything.
Yeah, particularly in this area.
Yes,
Yeah.
right around, from the Watkins.
Yeah, that's probably okay.
Yes.
Okay, understood.
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, just wanted to clarify, so what,
Identify yourself.
I'm sorry, my name is,
No, I'm just, speaking.
my name is Ryan Nathan, I'm the general manager at the Courtyard Bill Rico, which is 270 Concord.
Okay.
I want to confirm that the general idea is just converting a vacant office building into, what was it, a biomedical?
GMP is called, good manufacturing practice building. So it's a qualifier for a lab space, a certain level, but it's high bay, life science use. So high bay being like typically 30 feet clear height.
Thank you, and this would be,
And it'd be raise so demo the existing building, do the new building.
demo existing.
Yeah.
Is it too early to ask how long of a project that would be?
For construction,
Yes.
I'd like to conservatively say 2 years, but I would think it'd be a bit quicker than that. That helps a little bit,
Yes, thank you.
maybe in the year and a half.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
I have a question, and I'm not sure if it applies. I'm not sure if the people that own this part of the whole complex also owns the area up in the back, where the road goes through and there's a dumping issue back there. It's on the perimeter road. So I'm not sure if it's the same owners.
It should be, it's just I think the hearing.
Looking at this river here.
Yeah, and then it comes where your finger was, it will continue around and it goes up around the back.
Yeah,
There's an area back there, and I
Yeah.
know they've tried to deal with it, but people just go in there and they dump TVs and furniture and whatever else they can throw off that little side. And just as a heads up, I don't know what they can do other than putting cameras out there or something, because it's a secluded spot.
Okay.
So, but it's just, it's mind boggling, and I know they've tried to, they were aware of it from one of the other proposals that came in, but it's ongoing, just as a heads up.
okay, I'll reach out and see.
Thank you, I
Relay that.
appreciate that, and if
Of course.
live in the area will appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for entertaining that question. Yeah, so, in terms of when to continue this to, it seems like next week for having all this in seems to be, not doable. The second meeting in April, maybe?
I would say that's more. I think we're given a period release.
Yeah. So, what is that, April? April 24th.
Great.
So then all items would be due to the commission, and that's provide plan response and comments, April 17th, so. Yeah, the plan is to execute and, I need to get following on stormwater peer reviews, and then, probably be one or two reviews and get tech review meeting, I don't know.
Yeah. We'll try to move it as quick as we can, and then we can work with Isabel if we need a little more time, so.
Yeah.
From there.
But I'd say it's continuous to that.
Yeah, it seems suitable.
Okay, in that case, I will make a motion to continue the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, the work of wetlands protection bylaw, wetlands hearing, the rest of the intent for 296 Concord Road for Camby's Shahbazi, KS Partners, CRCC Equity Partners LLC, and do not have a number for your feedback.
No, I can check and see. when that is.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
That was Jeff, wasn't it?
Yes, he's sinking in.
Great, thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Making sure my notes would come back.
Seven 22. Next item is Mass Wetlands Protection Act, the work of wetland protection by law, wetlands hearing. Notice of intent, continued public hearing, for the DPW facility 250 Trouble Cove Road, applicant time Bill Ricka, the EP file number 1091552, BBL 1552. It's been a moment, I'm getting a little more luck with the technology. That is a great sign. I've seen it work 100 times.
Yeah, the other thing on the way down.
Okay, I do have, I'll start over. My name is Tony Westheiser. I'm with Weston and Sampson. I'm here tonight with Devin Herrick, who is standing in for Megan Kearns, who has been with me on previous meetings. Megan had previous engagements to be out of the country, so Devin was kind enough to join me tonight. I'm also here tonight with Fred Russell, DPW Director for the town of Billerica, as well as Mike Richard and Russell Rucker from Weston and Sampson. So without further ado, I'm just going to give you an update on where we're at with the project at 250 Treble Cove Road. So we're providing an update. We were here previously on January 10th and then on February 14th. And as far as what's happened since the last meeting, we did meet with the Board of Health on March 4th, and they continued their hearing until April 1st. We also met earlier this week on Monday, March 11th, with Planning Board. They closed out their hearing and issued the permit. As far as specific to the Conservation Commission and activities in support of obtaining an NOI, when we left last time, there was discussion about a site visit and a need or a preference to modify our culvert design from a 2-foot or 24-inch pipe to a box culvert. We have completed a design and submitted that on February 28th. We've received comments on that design, specifically the culvert design. The peer reviewer asked for a profile along that culvert. We provided that new profile information on March 6th. And the final peer review letter for stormwater and was provided on March 6th. All issues have been resolved, and according to that letter, including the box culvert. Moving along, I did want to cover again, I think it sounds like there remains some lingering confusion about the conservation restricted land. So I'd like to review that again real quick and provide some additional information. So you may recall from previous presentations that there are two areas. It's Article 97, conservation restricted land, shown in yellow here. And this stems from a plan that, and I want to bring your attention to the lower left-hand corner. That strip was originally conservation land, and then the little corner over by River Street Extension. And what the town endeavored to do was turn that back to land available to the town in exchange at a rate of two square feet to 1 square foot, a parcel that was converted from land available to the town to conservation restricted. So about 106,000 square feet in total shown in red, 212,000 square feet turned into conservation land under Article 97. So that's an explanation graphically of what's going on. I do want to point out that as far as town records go, and Isabel, I can provide you this information offline if you'd like it, but this that land swap went before town meeting in the fall of October 2019. And it did, this is the language of it. I'm not going to read it. If anybody wants me to go back into it, we can look at any details within there, but that's the language that was presented before town meeting. And then as far as the vote, it did pass at that town meeting at a rate of 167 to 11. So that was locally, the land swap was approved locally at that town meeting. There were also state activities where the state Senate and the House of Representatives reviewed the project. It was a bill that was started by Senator Friedman That was started as bill number S 2963, an act authorizing the town of Billerica to transfer certain parcels of land. So that was April 19th of 2022. In July, just a few months later, it was filed as a new draft as S 3062, in which, in that form was signed by the governor on August 10th, 2022. And that was signed into law as chapter 169 of the Acts of 2022. So I can provide you all of this information. And this is just what the act looked like. It's all very similar language to what was in the town's town meeting warrant article. Moving along, I do want to talk a little bit about visual barriers for our project. We are using guardrail as well as retaining walls, and then Wetland Protection Act signs. So these are images that were provided by the Conservation Department, and these are the types of signage that we'll use for the project. And then just graphically, I just wanted to show, this is guardrail shown in green, and then shown in orange here is the retaining wall. And then finally in yellow is where we have those signs. We're planning to post those signs. And then this is just a zoom in about twice the scale. Again, green is the guardrail, orange is the retaining wall, yellow is the signage. And then this is the south side of the site. So I did just want to speak a little bit and revisit visual barriers. I'm going to proceed here. On that site walk that we had with Isabel and Fred and Megan Kearns just before the last meeting, one of the things in addition to the culvert design that there were concerns about was I don't know quite what the adjective is, but overgrowth of vines on the ground level as well as up into trees. So that was a very big concern. And so we address that in the plans that should be in your package. We provide delineations of the areas where the vines are and need to be addressed with notes that a contractor we're looking for removal of the top growth as well as scarification of the soil so that we can get at the vine root systems. That all said, we're providing notes looking to maintain the existing healthy mature trees so that they'll be saved and minimize impacts to those trees. We're not just going in and clear cutting to get rid of the vines. Well, it'll be as surgical as it can be. This is the plan, and the dotted lines shown in pink are the areas where the vines are bad, and those are the areas we actually have this note on the plan. This is on the planting plan to indicate to a contractor that these areas will need to be addressed for vine management. So just summarizing, the permits that we're looking for tonight is a notice of intent. We are actually looking for relief, a variance for work in the town's 25 and 50-foot no disturb buffer zones, and a waiver for section 3.03C2 of the regulations for placement of impervious surface in the buffer zone. And that is the end of my presentation. We're happy to take any questions you might have. Isabel?
Tony did a good job of updating the commission. Beta is here, Phil Paradis, to just provide you a quick overview of stormwater compliance. There was a number of peer review letters and a tech review meeting, a lengthy tech review meeting to go over the comments and kind of revisions proposed by Weston and Sampson. So a couple notes that I had that I know some members inquired about the clarification on the visual barrier, which beat me to it. And yes, they expanded their restoration plan, by a lot. Woody vine management is very much needed out there. It's actually they're choking out existing saplings and trees, so that'll be a huge improvement to the restoration plan. As part of the riverfront performance standards, the commission, will need to require, basically monitoring of that restoration area and monitoring of the plantings for both inner buffer zone and restoration, riverfront area, the 2 growing seasons. Okay, so that is a condition that, we this, discussed previously for other projects. I think it's great that they assess the box culvert area. I think that will benefit the overall design down the road. Can you just show where your environmental signage is again? I thought I saw it in yellow and on the other side of the retaining wall.
Do you want me to, so these yellow dots are where we have that signage.
Oh, okay, I guess it was the other plan then. Yeah, if you could zoom out. Or you had another one with.
Well,
yellow.
yeah, so what it is divided for scale just into
Oh,
the
okay.
north half and south
So
half.
what's the yellow highlights right there?
That's the signage as well, so I can zoom in just so you can see what that is.
It's just highlighting the labels of the signage, and
Oh,
then
got it.
there's
Okay.
arrows that point to where they'd be located, so they're not quite so far back.
So that should answer your questions on that. It looks like they did add a visual barrier sign at the other entrance, right?
Yes,
Right, and there's actually a mound that. So
that's
you have the
correct.
access road and then it actually goes up, but that's an area to note that there is no stockpiling or temporary stockpiling. in the
Yeah,
area.
this area here between these 2 signs, it's a pretty steep slope up. There's not really any opportunity to stockpile. That in and of itself is sort of a physical barrier. Would be a fairly steep slope there.
And that area will be planted as well.
Yes.
Part of the restoration plan. So that's your very outer riverfront area. Really, that's it for staff review, and it's they provided response to comments for both Beta, DEP, staff. And if we can turn it over to Beta to kind of essentially sum up, your overall compliance with the 10 standards.
Yeah, just for the record, Phil Paradis with Beta Group, we've had a chance to review the project a number of times, worked with Tony and his team to address many of the stormwater issues. This turns out to be more challenging than it first appears relative to stormwater, in that you get some elevation change and you got some high groundwater issues and obviously the wetland issues. It also is a land use of high potential pollutant load, being a DPW facility, and so they did have oil grid separators included in the design. They provide infiltration systems to mitigate the peak rate of runoff, and also treatment of runoff to meet the standards for both TSS removal and phosphorus removal. The project has a extensive O&M plan that meets the requirements. Illicit discharge statement was provided, and yeah, and generally, they've addressed all the comments that we developed as we do this plan. There are probably 4 standard conditions on the last page of our letter that we recommend to include. It includes providing a stamp design plan for the retaining wall, a final SWIP plan, observation of excavations for infiltration systems for on site to confirm soil depth, soil assumptions, and a final stamp and signs stormwater pollution prevention plan, and recording of the operation and maintenance plan with the registry. Yeah, thank you.
Another question. Oh, yeah, I always have questions, you should know that. Thank you, Phil, for your input and your recommendations. Appreciate it. I do have a few questions. The visual barrier was mentioned, and I'm glad you clarified that because I was a little confused. I was concerned about that area coming into the site, particularly where the trucks are gonna be coming in. So thank you for clarifying that. Your O&M plan, usually we like to see timing for certain activities to take place, not just twice a year. You know, if it's fall, spring, that sort of thing. And I think at this point, we could probably address it through condition, that we.
Yeah, Bader, I missed it, but yeah, I mean, that's something that they just need to clarify, be more specific, spring, you know, whether it's March, April, fall, October, November for, you know, street sweeping. Same thing with catch basin minimum timeframes, spring in a month timeframe.
Yeah, we can coordinate with the DPW and come up with a schedule that works for the commission.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you. In terms of the conservation land, those parcels have separate numbers from the land that's being used for the DPW, correct?
Not with regard to town, no.
No,
So they're not gonna be, deeded to conservation the way we have with other pieces of
they're
conservation.
deeded under Article 97, that's been approved by the state, as far as, you know, showing them, I mean, it's something that we can work with Kyle, GIS, DPW to, you know, provide a specific layer just for this property, given the sensitivity of, you know, the land swap, associated with this project. So that's something that can be, you know, addressed and highlighted on GIS in a certain way. We can work with Kyle to be creative, but yeah, you already have all the information. Tony had already, you know, at the previous hearing, provided the commission with an update. And the others were inquiring
Yeah.
about it, but we already have it all.
Okay, that was probably what we, that's not, and I apologize. So, incapacitated.
I don't think you were here actually.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. And then the only other thing I had a question about, since this is the DPW lot, vehicle washing, maintenance, like all that kind of stuff,
Inside,
all inside.
all inside.
Okay, and that I think would be a condition. I would assume that you would include, do you use recycled water for that or no?
You have to pass.
And that's a separate system.
You looked at
A
that?
separate collection system for that.
Yeah, it would have to go on the sewers.
Just out of curiosity, was there a reason you couldn't use recycled water?
Yeah, we actually visited a couple of sites, that were fairly new that instituted recycling. And as far as the maintenance issues and just, it's, if you get a picture, it's basically making, you know, take out the grid, separate the grid.
Yeah.
They basically used them for the first 2 months and then they took them out of service because
Oh,
it
wow.
was just, it was a daunting task to maintain. So we actually, one of them was the WL French, I don't know if I should tell you that, but they're not using recycling because it's just, it's amazing. So given that feedback we got from other newer facilities,
Hopefully in the future they can figure out a better way to do it, and but I appreciate the clarification because, you know, from my perspective, it's like, you know,
we are going to look at potentially capturing some of the rainwater to use for that wash system.
great. Thanks, Rich. I think I'm all set. Thank you, Gina. Thank you all.
When you spoke of the invasive plants, how about when you cut them, you just do a treatment, a brush on treatment to the stumps, and it would help control that. Did you ever think of that?
We can consider that. I think, based on the site walk and seeing in person, you know, looking at it with Isabel, Megan and Fred, it is so pervasive, it is so mature, if you will, that it just really seemed like the best thing to do was to try to get at the roots as much as possible without causing additional damage or damaging existing trees. So we can consider an alternate if that's something that you need us to do, but we're feeling like the approach that we have is the best approach at, dealing with the existing vines that are there now, so that they don't continue or come back.
Because there was a similar setup across from the Public Works now in Billerica. It's a pop medical building, but some, ornamental design or whatever you come in. And it was a mess in the backyard. And they really controlled the vines in there. Just something to think of. And I don't know if I get mixed up here or Demols's. When you wash the, trucks, have you got a tank? I think in one of the descriptions, it was a 1,500 gallon tank for the oil and water. A holding tank like. So that's reasonable.
Yeah, so that is the moment. So they provided the adequate size for this type of facility.
So this 1,500 gallon tank, who pumps it?
So
Where's it end up?
So, again, that's part of the other project, but, it's part of the O and M plan to address that. Any spills need to be, any captured oils and floatables need to be maintained on a quarterly basis. So if there's a lot of oil or, what do they call them, car juice or whatever. You put in a boom and it sucks it up and you take it out, throw away. So there are different methods or you can have a pump. If there's an excessive amount of sediment, you obviously have to have that,
Kind of as needed?
it's all spelled out in operation.
Thank you.
Check.
Just to Fred, once this is up and running, we'll have a maintenance for those vines out back. It's like not, you just can't, it's very difficult to kill, but we'll have to stay after it. I don't want to see it grow up and I don't want to get on there in 5 years and see it overgrown.
Yeah, I mean, whatever's in the, go in, and as far as.
We put that in the oven, that'll be maintained yearly. Eradicate the vine.
Line man.
Right, man, very good. There you go. Other than that, I'm all set. We can't discuss.
Scarifying, that's the best way to do what you can do. There's so much of that, if you're not treating that. But afterwards, like we're saying, if you can treat it, that'll be great, but other than that, I'm good. Christine?
So the wines, do you think they like the wetlands? Is it because growing the soil is?
They're just invasive. They're.
This has been abandoned for a long time, so with the vines that are the size of saplings out there. It's a mix of whether it's poison ivy or amphibious weed. And it's not just invasives, it's other woody vines that are actually choking out trees too.
Did we have any examples like in previous building area?
I think the town did a big invasive species management. It was more Japanese knotweed, different, but scarifying the soils out there, their wetland scientist is pretty good, and based on our site visit, that, like Jeff said, it's the best approach out there right now. I think DPW is gonna take, well, at least my impression is that they're gonna take great pride on the site. Their restoration plan for end of buffer zone and riverfront is pretty extensive out there, so we're on it.
Absolutely.
I think they're gonna take good care of it.
DPW is on top of, was very good shape.
Good shape for the shape we're in.
Thank you on that.
Okay. All right, and my only comment was, again, Jack continue to state yearly maintenance towards the vine control and recommended conditions that they are being included in that conditions.
So just to clarify, the commission is indicating that a revised O and M plan needs to be updated to be specific to timeframes for inspections and cleaning, parking lot sweeping. And that's to be signed and stamped by DPW and submitted to the commission before an order of conditions is issued within 21 days. So that's one. You do want to include a special condition regarding no exterior washing of equipment and vehicles. And the other special condition is that the commission is asking for, beyond the 2 years of monitoring within the riverfront and in the buffer zone restoration areas, that you also want DPW to maintain and manage, a degree of, invasive woody foundation.
You know, I'll help for this.
Get Fox and Tree departments. In this little time.
And then the other condition, as I mentioned, is that, you want monitoring of, restoration activities by wetlands professional and monitoring reports at the, beginning of the growing season and end of the growing season for 2 years, and that's a state requirement. I just wanted to recap that, so the confusion.
Any other questions, comments too? Yes, sir.
Stephen Dresser, 572 Boston Road. This is going to the site of the old wastewater.
Correct.
Unless you're taking down the structures.
Correct.
Oh, thanks.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Rob Carell. I'm one of the butters on the other side of the on the far side of River Street Extension. Thank you, Tony and Fred, for engaging, interesting conversations over the last week or so. My question is, my understanding is that between the elevation of River Street Extension and the elevation of the project, there is a descendant elevation of, I think you said 7 feet or so.
Or so,
Yeah.
relative, River Street Extension relative to, right immediate to River Street Extension, or, well, and then. All right, yeah, so, yes, correct.
Okay, so given that, my question, with the desire to keep mature trees and to put in, the visual barrier, what does the transition in elevation look like between River Street Extension and once you get down to that 6 or 7 feet down? Is it a major drop? Is it a?
I would say it's more of a gradual drop, so we're dropping that distance along this roadway here. And from here out into the site at this location. I don't have specific information on the elevation of these plantings. Russ, I'm guessing you don't have that handy.
I can speak generally that the elevations towards the middle of that admin parking area, if you go towards the actual training site, that matches about existing grade. And then if you go plan north a bit, it's a little bit above existing grade. As obviously when we get to the culvert, we actually have to be above existing grade so that we can have a culvert cross under the driveway. So that's up, 4 or 5 feet or so.
So I don't know if you heard that, but what Russ was saying is that relative to River Street Extension, the grade in this area is roughly equivalent to the existing grade you see out there, when you can see in the winter time when the leaves are down. So we'll be matching this grade at this location. I'm not sure if you can see the contours. We'll stay up at that elevation. The existing grade does drop down. Russ, I'm pretty sure that's going down right into the,
Yep.
and then comes back up on the other side. We'll be staying up at the same elevation to this entrance and then climbing up to meet River Street Extension here.
Okay, so I'm wondering about the transition in front of the houses, whether that will be gradual or sudden, to get from 7 feet down to 7 feet below that. Right, because there's a bunch of trees, mature trees there in that area.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how you transition and keep the mature trees.
zoning view. Want the-
Yeah.
So those existing wooded areas in front of the houses, that's all gonna stay the same. We're not gonna impact it, that, we're not gonna tear up anything else. It's gonna have the same graded slope that kind of slopes gradually down. In some parts it will steeper, in some other areas, you live on the street, there are some steep spots near the existing culvert crossing there. All that will stay the same, we're not touching it. We're supplementing, the plantings there with new plantings that you can see. It's layered, there's some that are roadside, some more evergreens on roadside, and then a lot of additional screening, provided at the edge of the park.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you very much.
Anything else? Okay.
Okay, so I think we have the information that we need to close this at this point. But you need the variance, to section 3.03 CV, I believe, to work within the no alteration zone. I'll make a motion that we grant that variance based on mitigation provided, including the invasive species management and enhancements to the no alteration zone.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And I think, yeah, I think that was the only variance, correct?
There was a so there's the variance for the 25-foot and 50-foot, and then a waiver from 3.03 C2.
The impervious surface.
Right.
Impervious surface.
And just to clarify that variance is for, you guys submitted additional information, Megan did, regarding the no alteration zone, it's for the 25-foot no alteration zone, because it's part of a larger site that also supports the water treatment and the treatment station. That's
Right.
what you like to do for us. Or, right.
Okay, I'll also make a motion that we grant a variance to section 3.03 C2 for impervious area on site in the buffer zone.
Second. Three people did. That
Okay,
makes
so
sense.
yeah,
What do we have there?
Christine.
Okay, so we have Diane and Christine.
All in favor?
And now I will make a motion that we close the Massachusetts Protection Act and the Liquor License Protection Bylaw public hearing notice of intent for the new DPW facility at 250 South Cove Road. The applicant is the town of Billerica, file number 109-1552, BBL-1552, and include all special conditions discussed throughout the hearing by both staff members and the board, and Beta's recommendation. And I include all the special conditions that Isabel listed earlier.
Second.
And I'll sign issue the 21 days receipt of an updated on.
Well, they have to submit it, but we don't.
We'll get it. Jeff second. We got it to and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. Can you guys, for my notes, the first variance was by the
Okay, next item, Mass Wetlands Protection Act and Oregon Wetlands Protection Bylaw, wetland hearing notice of intent, continued public hearing, 3 Morningside Drive. The EP file number 109-1547, BBL 1547. That is 758.
When I pull the chair up.
Appreciate it. I do have some additional copies for the commission, so. This is just my presentation plan. I don't do that stuff, I'm too old for that. Look at.
I'll second
that. Second, everybody said that, thank you.
Well, I'll second.
I do, by the way, my name is Gordon Rogerson, and I work at Ace Engineering out of Wakefield, Mass. And here representing, the owner of the property at, 3 Morningside Drive. And what we are proposing to do, to continue from the last meeting that was here about a month or so ago. And, we made a couple of changes to the plan itself. Specifically, the calculations for the stormwater. With the help of Isabel, and I think we finally got this thing squared away.
And Crystal Board of Health.
And Crystal at the Board of Health. Summarizing what we have here in pink is the 100-year flood elevation. And of elevation 101 that is on the floodplain elevations plan. And here in yellow is the green floodplain from the town's website. And what we're proposing to do is, this is an existing house, we're gonna propose a new addition consisting of a garage and a unit upstairs, additional space for the kids and stuff like that, or maybe a bedroom for them. And what we're proposing to do here is, we have an existing driveway on this side of the property. We're gonna remove that existing driveway when it comes time to put in the new driveway in front of the garage. The existing driveway consists of about just over 1,000 square feet. And we're doing a new driveway at about 925 square feet. So we're reducing the impervious material on the site itself. With that, we're in this dark color here, we're proposing a trench to collect all the runoff water that's coming off of the driveway to infiltrate that. And all the roof runoff from the proposed building, we're gonna put into this infiltration system behind the house, which consists of 3 Caltech 100 units with stone around it and stone below it. This whole site is all sand, it's well drained material, so we should be able to have no problem with draining the site. What we're proposing also is to excavate this upland in here to compensate for the flood storage, and also down in this section here, we're also going to take some of the upland and put it back as a storage, storage for the floodplain to increase the compensated storage for, I can never say that word. Thank you. So this is basically the revised plan from the meeting that we had last month. And I think a couple of the commission members were not here at the time, so I hope they were having an opportunity to at least understand what I'm trying to get to. So at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion or questions from the commission. Isabel.
Yeah, so just to clarify for the record, the proposed alteration of floodplain is 650 square feet. That totals, it's a half a foot, right? of
Yes.
Alteration, so that's a 325 cubic feet. That's impacted, that is what they're requesting the commission to approve. What they're proposing for replacement is a total of 1,051 square feet of flood storage area with 525.5 cubic feet of compensatory flood storage. Just a quick question, after we got off the phone earlier, and your plans do show all of that, the cut and fill calcs, it's just how we have to calculate it to show these numbers. But quick question. So that area to the right was revised from your original plan. It initially tied into the foundation, but it's set back, the comp flood storage area to the right. that totals 650 square feet.
Right.
And also totals, that area is 325 cubic yards, okay? So
Cubic feet.
cubic feet, sorry. So why, so the regulations require that you, provide common flood storage at what you're altering or more? Why are you guys proposing that area to the left if you need it?
To give it more storage, just for flood purposes itself, basically.
And then the other question is, so currently, as shown on this plan, this house structure is outside FEMA floodplain. And so now with the addition being proposed within FEMA flood area, would it, I just, out of curiosity, does that trigger the need for flood insurance and so forth?
That's a good question. I would not be surprised if they, I wish the owner was here, but I believe he told me that they already buy the flood insurance.
Oh,
Because
okay,
the property is in the flood area.
okay, yeah, it's pretty close to the house structure, so Crystal and I were just discussing that as part of our, streamlined review. But, yeah, so as shown, they're providing greater flood, compensatory flood storage area on the plan. And all the information is called out correctly, and I have what I need for your, pending your approval of the project, all the numbers that we need.
Right, so I think both of my issues have been resolved. We've got a locus on the plan. And were the numbers for the compensatory storage sufficient? And based on what you're both telling me, they are.
The
At
other,
that correct
yeah.
elevation.
yeah, the other thing is, that someone mentioned, Commission member asked, is the final restoration of those areas. So there's a wildlife and component, so BLSF serves a number of functions, interests of the act, where it's flood storage, wildlife, storm prevention, protection. So those areas are to be graded, stabilized with loam and seed, and, plantings, it's something that you could condition, or not, or I guess clarification on how the areas to be final stabilized.
Is that something we can condition? I mean, I think that I would like to see some.
Yeah, I would finish it.
Yeah.
I don't want to just dig a hole.
No, finish it, what do you thinking?
Right, we'll go along with whatever the commission advises in their order of conditions.
What would you recommend?
It's entirely to the commission, but typically when you're restoring, creating compensatory flood storage, you're, kind of loaming, and seeding with the wildlife conservation seedments, and these are kind of upland areas, but, you can ask for native shrub plantings, it's really up to the commission.
I would think.
They're cutting the tree line here to create the common flood storage area.
Right, so I would think a combination would be appropriate. A wildlife seed mix, some shrubs, appropriate shrubs. Maybe other members. I have some input on that too.
That's at the staff review.
Thank you.
Oh. Nothing to do with calculations, but even when you come here before, the area was never staked out. I was there the other day, still wasn't staked out.
The area for the excavation?
For the driveway or the addition,
Yeah,
with any of the work, there was never staked out.
Right, we typically don't stake anything out until the commission approves the plan. In case there is some changes by the commission members requesting. it's expensive to the homeowner for us to go out there 2 or 3 times to move stake around. It will be laid out prior to or after the approval process, and we get our permits. So it's easier for us to swing by at any time.
Staked out.
Yeah, we can do that.
It's actually a requirement.
It's required,
Yeah, for us, it's a requirement for the Conservation Commission, you apply for a project, that's one of the
Exactly,
requirements, yeah.
But usually, in a buffer zone, we do that. But seeing it's just out in the floodplain. I guess we could have, we possibly should have. I apologize to the commission for not having that done. It could have been brought up last month and we would have had it all staked out. But,
Should have been done last time too. Well, I can see your point. But it's a regulation we haven't already.
it's a,
So what do you want to do with this? And you might have got straight painted on the hot top where the garage is gonna go? Is that what you're looking
yeah, put a couple of stakes up.
Would that be possible to do?
Sure.
But we still can condition it with the stake.
No, it's just so if they come again, some other person, it's supposed to be staked out ahead of time.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the intent of the comment, is that in the future, just to have it staked out.
We'd have to deal with it again, somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, but
They haven't staked out this week.
that'd be great.
Jim?
I'm all set, yeah.
Okay, Jeff?
I'm good. But staking it out, we're looking to approve this right now, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So let us just approve it and then you stake it before you build it. I mean,
Oh, yes.
it's not, yeah,
Yeah, the contractor, whoever is chosen, will want stakes
yeah,
out there.
definitely.
We just don't buy it by a procedures, not gonna mistakes.
Okay, I'm good. Good luck.
I'm good too.
Okay. Any questions, comments? No?
In that case, I will make a motion that we close the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the local Wetlands Protection Bylaw Wetlands hearing. Notice of intent for 3 Morningside Drive from Adam Betfitch. Not sure I'm pronouncing that right.
Patrick.
Betflick, thank you.
Thank you.
DEP file number 109-1547, UDL-1547, and sign and issue a order with conditions within 21 days. If you meet all conditions as discussed throughout the hearings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jack.
Yeah, Jack.
That was Jack.
All go ahead, sure.
Thank you very much. They've all done. It's,
That's great. Is there,
page 2.
oh, okay,
But we usually keep.
oh, okay, that's great. I'll give it to the board. Somebody on before then.
Time on, yeah.
Yeah.
April 1st.
I'll-
Full day.
I can, I know, right? It's gonna be on you.
Okay, next item, Mass Wetlands Protection Act and Billerica Wetlands Protection Bylaw Wetlands Hearing. Notice of intent, continued public hearing, 700 Boston Road, applicant Valley, LLC, Moose Supermarket, DEP file number 109-1549, BBL 1549 at 812. See this.
Shut it off. You're gonna shut it off, shut it on that one. Give it a sec. And then when it comes up, this is the, usually the bricks straight. It's the, system upgrades. That's all right, they'll just continue to the next meeting. Right? Oh, I'll say stuff, but it's not bad, it's not already. Okay, no, I continue it. Beta's here, you can, start with
Yeah.
discussing, you know, what's been revised on the plan.
Yeah, absolutely. I only had a couple slides anyways.
So do you want them to mark it into the side? You want-
Just like it was, you know, but thank you.
You need the slide. While it's circulating.
Yeah, there's really one slide with pictures on it, just to describe, to show the area. So, good evening, Eric Gerard, civil engineer with the AP. Here representing, Demoulas, PSMA. Jim Lamp is here as well, with LP Development. Just to give an update of where we were from the last hearing, a couple weeks ago, we did receive planning board approval on Monday night for the project for our site plan special permit. In addition, at the last hearing, we had just received the updated peer review letter for data, and there were a couple of standing stormwater items to address, which is primarily related to the existing impervious area on the site that we weren't currently treating in the stormwater management system. So looking at that additional area, it was primarily the rooftop area of the facility at the shopping center that we weren't touching. So it was about an additional 4 acres of impervious area that was requested to be treated, and that's primarily related to the regulations related to 8% USS and 50% total phosphorus removal for the entire site. So looking at that area, we identified 2 new pocket wetlands at the rear of the site, at the back of the house, that's picking up the 2 roof drain outlets. So we're modifying those outlets, rerouting that rooftop runoff to 2 new pocket wetlands to provide the adequate treatment for that rooftop area. That was the major change to the stormwater management system. In addition, on the front parking lot area, 2 new oil water separators are provided to provide the additional oil separation for the parking lot. The 2 that go, one trunk line that goes to the south to the pocket wetland, and the trunk line that goes to the north to the gravel wetland. Each will have an offline 1,500 gallon oil and water separator with it. We've also increased the visual barrier limits as requested at the previous meeting at the southerly pocket wetland, where it makes the bend.
Might just need to take what you can see for that.
So we added the additional guardrail that was requested and clarified the signage that is around the entire perimeter at the property. So. All right. That's good. So as a site, overall site, the 2 new pocket wetlands located in the rear of the facility, kind of right in the central location of the rear of the buildings, which takes approximately 2 acres, 2.5 acres of the roof on this side, as well as essentially where the altitude trampoline park is, that roof drain and a portion of the retail just to the south of that is in the other pocket wetland as well. New oil water separator on this trunk line prior to discharging into that gravel wetland. Similarly, on the southerly end, on this edge, prior to discharging into this pocket wetland, and then
Additional visual barriers along the corner on this side was added in the guardrail. Additionally, we had O&M updates as requested, and then we did get a peer review letter back from Beta on Monday on 3/11 that we've addressed all the comments have satisfactorily been addressed or could be incorporated into conditions of approval. So those are the main updates that we wanted to discuss tonight. I'm looking for approval tonight. Any questions? Happy to take them. Thank you.
Isabel.
Yeah, as Eric mentioned, Beta conducted a peer review. Phil Paradis is here with Beta to present, kind of a summary of that overall compliance. They did revise the plans to add additional treatment, as part of the peer review and staff review comments. Can you just clarify that additional pocket, that pocket wetland to the rear? It's actually, it shows on the plan that there's somewhat of a tree line, but that area, if you recall in the center, it's kind of been just disturbed in the past. Really doesn't have extensive shrub or tree vegetation, so,
Yeah, there is a tree clearing in the back here. This total area is about 20,000 square feet, and this is about 7,000 square feet.
okay. Yeah, but there's a little, I remember being out there and it's kind of.
It's not, it's pretty scrubby
Yeah.
and brush.
Around those areas, what are you proposing? Is that a post and rail fence or?
A chain link fence around the middle one, and then on the northerly one, there's a 6 foot high block stockade or solid fence, and then a 4 foot high chain link going around it, black on all chain.
Are those gonna be deep as well? Like, are they, I just wonder why,
The basins,
Yeah.
they're about 3.5 feet deep total from the top of berm to that pool elevation that's required.
okay. Just typically they like to see continuity with the rest of the buffer zone in our wetlands. A break in where there's some maintenance that has to occur, but I think you're doing that on this other one too, which is a deeper, should hold water, right?
Correct. The other one, the two larger basins have the fence. We did not have a fence along. This one's much shallower, and there's a fence along that edge already.
Okay, so those other, the two new ones, they're not as shallow or?
They're a little bit deeper, I guess, just for the berm height.
Okay. That's it for staff review notes, but Phil is here to provide a formal review for the record.
All right, just for the record, again, my name is Phil Paradis with Beta Group. We've had a chance to review this. This is a fairly challenging project, in many ways. One is it's fully developed currently. And, the challenges that, EPA requires and EPA and your local bylaws require retrofits to meet, 80% TSS removal and 50% phosphorus removal. And the roofs are typically considered clean, except for phosphorus. So they needed to be treated, and that was a very big challenge. The site in general is high groundwater, so it's very difficult for infiltration practices. But the engineer has done a great job in terms of trying to come up with practices that will provide the required treatment and not adversely impact the neighborhood over the there. So, and generally, this site will provide a great reduction in the rate of stormwater runoff from the site. It provides I want to say an enormous amount of treatment relative to the size of the site. I want to say this was one of the worst contributing polluters relative to stormwater in the town, and now it's become one of the best. So kudos for
the development here. This is a great improvement. This is a project that I think EPA had its vision of trying to really correct many of the wrongs of previous developments. And so this will be, along with a great neighbor in terms of client, benefactor to the town. The additions also included, because it's a high use parking lot, considered a land use of high potential pollutant load. They do have the oil water separators, not as big, and we work together to realize that this is not, if you're a little car or your car breaks a tank, it's not, it's not like a gas station or something, or you're even a big truck situation where the tanks don't need to be as big to provide the amount of protection and such. So generally, it meets the requirements of the local bylaws, the stormwater mass stormwater management handbook, and as well as EPA's requirements for the MS4. There are three kind of standard conditions now for we recommend for this project. One is excavations of soil of stormwater BMPs be observed prior to, just to make sure we check the characteristics and the assumptions of the soils and the groundwater elevations prior to development, and then a final stamped completed stormwater pollution prevention plan and operation maintenance plan being recorded with the registry.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate the review and the recommended conditions, and glad to see the site is going to be a lot better than it has been in the past. In terms of the pocket wetlands and the proposed chain link fences, are you proposing that they're 6 inches off the ground? Correct. Okay. We'll make sure that's covered, and I don't think I have anything else amazing. Well, thank you, Erica. Don't pull out of your chairs, okay?
Oh. I go along everything nice. How come you changed the plant list? From the first time you come to the second time?
The plant list, well, we added a lot of plants. Those pocket wetlands all have new plants in them. The addition, we added some more buffer plantings along that, the new pocket wetland as well.
Okay, but it's nice job. I noticed you had elm trees in your first one. The second plant is not. Right up by the building.
Okay, yeah, our landscape architect coordinated with, a little bit further, probably with, yeah, so.
Okay, Jack.
Yeah, my only question is the height of the fences that you're putting around the retention. What is it?
4 foot?
Do you think we should go higher? I'm just concerned about neighborhood kids getting back and running around. At 3 feet of water, it may end up 4 feet of water.
So each, I think the depth of the entire depth is 3.5 feet. The elevation, you're gonna have a foot of freeboard, so you probably, in most storms, you're gonna have a lot less depth than that.
But between the berm and the fence, you're gonna have 6 feet anyway.
Yeah, that's.
Jim Lamp with LT Development. I was actually gonna go the other way. If it's only 3 feet deep and you have a foot of freeboard, maximum height is gonna be, depth is gonna be a couple feet. I'm wondering if the fences are even needed for those 2 basins, if they're that shallow. And to the height, I believe it's a 4 foot fence you had to put around the swimming pool. So I'm not sure a 6-foot fence has any purpose other
Not
than
the back
just
of a
a one site. This is something we run into in development all the time is do you put a fence around the basin or not? It's mainly for safety. And I just don't know with all the wetlands around it, if it makes sense or not. And I'd actually like to hear the board's opinion on that. I almost on those two, I almost lean towards not needing the chain link fence, but we can go either way. I just sort of, am like, there's these little circles of fences all over our site.
Yeah.
It's just sort of kind of ugly.
So in the past, the commissions wanted, constructed wetlands to provide a degree of continuity for wildlife. That's the idea of constructed wetlands. That's why I asked for clarification on that other pond, which I think it was raised by the planning board.
Yeah, that's a
initially
deeper one.
fence.
I don't, and it's closer to where the public is.
Yeah.
You know, in the back,
Neighborhood. On the back end,
I'm struggling with it.
what the commission asked for 44 Dunham, was basically a degree of whether it's post and signage or, path, post and rail fence, basically, so that in the future, when that constructed basin, constructed wetland needs to be maintained, that it's clear where that maintenance ends and doesn't encroach into buffer zone, in a buffer zone in this case, of the wetland. But for those areas there, I would, from a environmental standpoint, and the commissions typically wanted continuity. If there isn't like a safety concern with those, I understand the one to the right was brought up by the planning board and discussed with the commission too.
These are, and the other thing I've seen over the years of doing these is that you design them for a certain elevation and they seem to never get to those design elevations. I've seen basins that are supposed to be full and they just don't get to that point because they're over designed.
Yeah, I think the right.
So
the,
I defer to the board,
Yeah,
we can do it, but if it's supposed to function as a wetland for wildlife and everything else, in the rear of the store, I personally would lean towards not having a fence around, but I do defer to the board.
I'd still like to recommend the 4-foot thing. 4-foot fence.
Jeff? Stay with the 4-foot fence, easy enough. You don't need tall. It's off the ground 6 inches to begin with. The stuff to go under, right? Yeah. So. Kids don't go play outside anyway.
Christine?
What we went to the site and we talked about that for animals, for deer or some other animals, that attract animals, maybe that's why, that's what we saw, right, Diane?
I'm sorry?
The fence will, kind of avoid for animals to go and enjoy.
It's gonna be raised 6 inches off the ground.
Yeah, deer actually probably can jump over a 4-foot fence.
Other than here, so
Yeah.
it's a residential area, I don't know what you think, what's the general practice?
Well,
I avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of fences, but I defer to Jack on the safety issue, given where it is in the neighborhood and stuff. Yeah, normally I
That's a
don't.
problem.
Yeah.
Kids get back there and they get into trouble, there's no one there to see.
Yeah,
No
normally
front
I'm not a fan of them, but I think in this case, it is probably a good practice to have them. As much as I don't mind. I agree with that.
Thank you.
I think older kids like the parking lot area, I see their trucks and social area, but who knows what kind of kids they enjoy the back. But that area. I get it, I'm all set.
Okay. Any comments, questions from? Yes, sir.
Dennis Carstone, 14 Arcadia Road, Middle River. On your first map you had up there, I'm seeing two things out in the back of the book. Drainage or oil separators. All right, now, the lower right-hand corner. That's behind, if I'm not mistaken, McDonald's down in that area. All right, that is a swamp dump area. I live my house borders that culvert, that thing goes from through my yard. That's my concern. I walked back there today and I'm telling you, the smell and everything else back there is, between the smell, the tires and everything else that's back there, it's blocking that. That's the problem right now. Over the years, the kids got back there, there's tires back there and that culvert that comes down through. Then it hits my yard, goes through my yard, then it goes over underneath Arcadia Road, where there's 2 corrugated pipes, which are now kind of collapsed. Goes across, and then it goes down, eventually it goes down to the Shawshene River. That is so grown in with vegetation, trees falling over the years, this water has nowhere to go. When it rains, there's I think there's like probably a 10 or 12-inch pipe. Right at that very end, I don't know if anybody ever walked back there, looked in there, but it's a 10 or 12-inch.
I think I know where you're going. I'm not sure if you were at the other hearings, but, we're reducing the amount of impervious on the site by almost an acre, I think, right?
I'm just
Half an
worried.
acre. And we're also, these are also serving as detention, so the runoff from the site is being significantly reduced as well.
That would help.
So we're kind of doing our part. Yeah, you know, is it a panacea? No. But we are addressing water quality.
Yeah.
Rates of runoff and volume of runoff, all three. So, as was mentioned, I think we're doing the best we can, and hopefully the runoff will be less than what it is today.
Yeah, because I only pick it up from the Moolis parking lot, you also pick it up from Jiffy Lube, or it's not Jiffy Lube now, the convenience store. McDonald's, they all have little culvert runoffs, everything behind the building, and things that little thing right there. And then it gets restricted, unfortunately. There's this back, that's, oh my God. It's,
So that's what that basin does.
Yeah.
It's there for treatment, for mitigation of rates of runoff. And on top of that, we're actually taking pavement out, as a part of the development.
I just didn't want to add any more, got enough.
In addition to that, regarding dumping or any miscellaneous debris, they're gonna be required as part of their routine conditions.
Yeah, if they went back there, no, I took a couple of pictures of the stuff that's.
Were you recently? Because I went out there probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I noted that there was kind of some areas that I think people might be living at times.
Yeah, well, I just.
And I told them to get out there and clean it up.
Waterfront property.
This is like, let me just, I can show you something. I just walked there.
That's in my notes.
Okay, we'll get it. I'll talk to the guys and we'll get that cleaned up, but that will also be taken care of as part of the project.
Oh, I got another question. Are you permitted, either one of you, is Arthur Demoulas check this out?
He checks everything. He checks everything. He is involved with every aspect of the project.
Thanks, thank you.
In that case, I will make a motion to close the Massachusetts, no variances.
I know they do.
I answered. I didn't know.
It's 25-foot setback, they're working along the stream, they're pulling back, they're pulling up the head wall, and they're overflow of that basin is,
This is.
they're doing work here.
Yeah.
Within,
The other one,
so any of the other two. 3.03 C3 B.
I'll make a motion that we grant a variance to, section 3.03 C3 B for work in the normal operation zone. For the purposes of improving the drainage, the vegetation plantings, runoff, all that sort of good stuff. Right, I'm getting tired.
All seconded.
All seconded, all in favor?
I know you want to leave.
That was the only variance needed, correct?
Work within the box.
Yeah, okay, and now I will make a motion to close the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and lower the wetland.
No,
protection bylaw.
I haven't seen her in it.
No, for 700 Boston Road for Valley, MB LLC, Louis Legal Market Incorporated, DEP file number 109-1549, VDL-1549.
Second. All in favor?
That was Jack, right?
Jack, yes.
Thanks, Phil. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just never know. That's it.
You said it would be able to very that's one was.
It's funny, yeah, if you go down Arcadia Road, like.
Okay. Next on the agenda,
Yeah, that's all, yeah,
Jim, can I have one of those cards, please?
absolutely, yeah.
Protection Act, building the wetlands protection bylaw. Wetlands hearing, notice of protection.
Like you should have got some time.
Road. DEP file 1558, 1558. Motion. With the applicant requested continuation to the meeting of the 27th. So.
no, Jack, was Jack done? Time? So, who made the
That was
motion?
8:39.
Jack, and who's second?
Second.
Yeah.
Okay.
8:39. Mass Wetlands Protection Act and Bill Record Wetlands Protection Bylaw, wetlands hearing notice of intent, continued public hearing, 505 Boston Road, Appleton. McHugh Outlet, DEP file 1091548, EBL 154. Applicant request continuance to meeting of March 27th. So moved.
Second.
And Jack Bowen,
Yeah.
What time is that?
8:40.
8:40.
What was the?
You wanted to question.
Hold on, let's finish.
Okay.
They're all jotted down.
Yeah. The stuff still recording, okay, yeah.
Okay. Mass Wetlands Protection Act and Bill Ricker Wetlands Protection Bylaw, wetlands hearing.
That's already continued. So the.
Oh, okay.
So next on the agenda, administrative matters and directors report. The commission recalls receiving a request for certificate of compliance. This is specific to DEP file number 1091348, BBL 134829 Riverdale Road. You've received staff review notes and comments. The plan was revised to include the DEP file number, other clarification. Fencing that the commission had requested to be removed was removed back in 2018, and photos are on the full, in the project file. That was basically just old, like dilapidated, chicken wire fencing from the floodplain corridor and, riverfront. Environmental signage is up along the inner riparian boundary as the commission requested. Stone infiltration trenches, you may recall, this is for Mr. Mike Rosa. He had submitted a minor modification request to replace the Coltech units with stone trenches, given the condition of the site. His engineer signed and stamped those plans. The stone trenches are installed and working effectively, and were reviewed by his engineer, and again, statement provided. We would recommend, based on all the information and compliance documented for the file, the commission approved.
So moved.
Second.
Favor.
Aye.
Okay. So you'll have those signature sheets. The next project listed is DEP file number 1091502, BPO 1502. This is a request for certificate of compliance that you received when you go down the road. Based on the technical review of the as-built plan and the stormwater peer review completed by Beta on the as-built plan. Beta, if you recall, conducted the stormwater conducted environmental monitoring, which is basically monitoring the construction of stormwater management stuff out there. And based on their report, there's some washouts on the basin. Mike also was on site. They're addressing some of the comments provided by Data and staff. So at this time, we recommend taking no action to approve or deny to allow the applicant who's, is aggressively working on it right now to address it.
So moved.
Isn't,
Paul?
Sure.
Okay.
Chair.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next, I do have to provide you with an update. You may have received some emails. It's the emails related to mosquito control. The commission received a notification from mosquito control, who, by the way, is exempt from certain environmental regulations, including Wetlands Protection Act and your bylaw to address, flooding, safety concerns. Essentially, the town, has received, the town meaning DPW, even our office, probably Board of Health has received complaints over the years, but this year was especially terrible. You'll recall that there's the culvert underneath Boston Road where at the Lowell Boston Road intersection. Well, a large wetland system drains into that area. The neighborhood that abuts that large wetland system is Alpine Street, and there's excessive flooding that's extending onto people's properties. So mosquito control is proposing to excavate the center of the channel, Middlesex Canal from Boston Road, from that culvert on Boston Road to the first culvert. It's about 300 feet that crosses over the canal along Lowell Street. Based on a site visit, held yesterday, I think, and that was with a number of people from mosquito control, Brett Russell, DPW director, town engineer, myself, and the actual crew that would be doing the work. They can't access the center of the channel from the sidewalk and street as I would have hoped, or as anyone would have hoped, just because that's also the area where vegetation is routinely altered because of the overhead wires. They actually need to go into that area, based on, your concerns as a commission would be, how's the area going to be restored in ruts, things of that nature. Limit the degree of clearing, preserve trees. There is a lot of dead wood in that area. I will acknowledge that. Fallen trees, a lot of fallen branches. There's a lot of accumulated sediment in the channel, and that's why they need to excavate it, because flow's not moving, which creates a backup for that larger wetland system. I just want to make you aware of that because you'll probably receive calls once that work commences. I've asked for signage along there, mosquito control work in progress. DPW will be on site, either, I don't know, it's Christina Papadopoulos or Pablo. We'll also be on site too.
When do they envision this happening? Sorry.
It could be like the first week of April, I'm not sure. They're working on that schedule. I'm really not sure. That could change. They're working on another big project in another town, but, I just want to make you aware of what's going on. We did advise them, knowing that we've worked in the past, you have worked in the past with the Middlesex Canal Association folks, to notify them, and they have. You was CC'd on that notice, or I was. Okay, so they're aware.
Don't you think that area, there again, when they repaved Boston Road, they averted that culvert's gotta be clean. On the Boston Road, if they clean that out, it would eliminate a lot of the backup.
So they actually have, that was part of the discussion up there. They've did 3 to 4 attempts at cleaning the culvert underneath the road from one end to the other end. They weren't able to jet it because there was clogging all over the place. There was sticks and so forth. But it's not the problem. The problem is you have a channel that now, if you look at it, the culvert's almost like it's filled or half filled, partially filled. The water's not flowing because over the years you have sediment. So now you have a channel that's higher than the culvert. They need to restore it to its original elevation so that water can flow to the next culvert. I mean, it does, but it's very slow and there's a lot of ponding. It sits there and actually backs up the water to the neighborhood.
So they're gonna clean under 3A then?
No, well, they've already cleaned out that culvert. They did it like 3 or 4 times. That was discussed. They've jetted it and everything, just not even too long ago. That was part of the investigative work leading to this. So they really need to remove the sediment from the channel. It is, you can see it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just making you aware because obviously when a project like this happens in a highly visible area, we get, you know, we receive calls, and sometimes individual commission members receive calls, okay? So you have all the paperwork on that. I'm keeping you in the loop and I'll let you know when I become aware of the start date, so you're in the know. Everything else, I'm still trying to catch up on, so if you could table that, that'd be great.
You want a motion for that stuff?
No, you don't need to just table it.
Some sign.
Just receive,
Joe.
Yeah, Christina. Oh, yeah, so you want to probably motion to adjourn? Yes, I am done.
We have a motion, Jack, Jeff, Paul, anybody? To adjourn, seconded for breakfast.
Second.
All in favor?
What time was that?
Second. Paul and Diane. At 8:49.
Excellent,
Paul and Diane.
Diane.
And,
versus
Jack and Diane, to take care of the report, what about, okay, I was gonna say I'll do that one. So we, ready for the second?
Sign these up.